A very warm welcome back to the channel, and thank you very much for watching. And I would really be grateful if you like this video and subscribe at any point if you feel that it is valuable to you during this video. So in this video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about lawyer ethics and what a lawyer or an attorney should or should not say in their opening or closing speeches, and indeed to any witness and so on. And with that in mind, I'm going to play a very short clip in a moment from part of the closing address from Elaine to the jury in the Depp Heard trial, because I think this trial, aside from the issues underpinning the entire trial that lots of people feel necessary to talk about, there are lots of other issues that come up, such as lawyer ethics, witness interaction, jury speeches, things that are based in evidence and fact, underpinned by that evidence and supported by that evidence, as against pure comment, which many of these things tend to rest on. And therefore, from this little speech, not only do I want to refer you to some things that Elaine has said, not that I'm quick to criticize another lawyer, I'm not, but there are certain things that as a lawyer I would not want to expect. If I were a member of the public, I would not want to expect from a lawyer. And as a lawyer myself, I would not want to expect from another lawyer. And so to give you some backdrop on this context, I've come to this profession in a rather unique way. I came to the profession from the standpoint of being a client of lawyers, because our business needed the support of lawyers, and so we sought out legal representation and advice. We had various lawyers involved in the case. We switched partway through, and we realized how important specialist advice can be, given the situation that you might be in. Following that, we were successful in our case without saying much more about it, but it led me to the conclusion that I could and probably should set up a service provision for legal services, advice and representation, and that I did. We set up a barrister's chambers and then later set up a law firm, and after that I became a lawyer myself. And so with all that in mind, I can say everything that I'm about to say that I would expect both as a client, a service provider, and as the lawyer, and I make the distinction between the three. What I would expect from another lawyer, and what I would not expect from another lawyer. And in essence, that includes accusations of somebody lying, being outright deceitful in their testimony. And particularly when that is in contrast with what they themselves said in media conferences afterwards that they were not allowed to tell the jury about, when they are blatantly telling the jury about within their speech. And secondly, what I wanted to draw your attention to is the expression on Johnny Depp's face when this happens. So, as I said, this is a small portion from Elaine closing address to the jury, the comments that she makes, and Johnny Depp's reaction to some of those comments that I want to draw attention to in this video. So let's move to that video now. It's only a very short clip, and I'm going to give you some comment on it so that you can see for yourself. And it might make sense to you to rewatch my video here so that you understand again the backdrop of what I've just said against the short clip that I'm going to show to you once you've watched that clip, underpinned by my personal experience. So let's move to that clip now. So this clip, bearing in mind it's a short way in to the closing address from Elaine essentially calling Johnny Depp out to be a liar, and Johnny Depp's reaction to those comments.
He had his opportunities, he had his full opportunities to do all of that. And he came in here and lied to you and said he's here to get his reputation back. It's just one of many lies in this case, but it's a really big one, because here we are, 6 weeks of your time, precious time, 6 weeks of this court's time, for what? For nothing.
So just pausing there, in reverse order, there are a few comments that I would like to make on this. The last statement being your time for nothing. Elaine essentially saying the jury's wasted all of their time on this trial. And essentially, upon the basis that she says Johnny Depp has lied throughout this trial. And thirdly, that she says that he's had his opportunity to tell his story, and she's referring to the UK trial. Now, remember Elaine's media interviews where she said that they were not allowed to tell the jury about the UK trial, because what she was obviously saying was that they were not allowed to tell the jury that the UK verdict was in Amber Heard's favour. I say Amber Heard's favour. Of course, it was News Group newspapers and Dan Wootton who were the defendants in that case, but ultimately they've spun that to be in Amber Heard's favour because she was obviously third party to whom all of these issues related. But nonetheless, it was spun in each of these media interviews by Elaine Brederhoft that they could not tell the jury about the verdict of this UK trial. However, this portion of the jury speech clearly referring to the UK trial, saying that Johnny Depp had his opportunity to tell his story in that trial. And on top of that, she says he was lying. And on top of that, therefore, she says the jury have wasted weeks of their time. Now, not only is that, in my view, and as I say, not quick to criticize another professional, but in my view is slightly disingenuous, because not only were they not supposed to refer to the verdict of the UK trial, but even implicit in what she says, she's saying that he had his opportunity to tell his story and now we are here. It suggests that he lost that trial, which is precisely what they were not supposed to tell the jury. In my view, that's how it comes across. In my opinion, any reasonable person would infer, even if it was incorrect, which it isn't incorrect, but any reasonable person would infer that the result of that trial was against him and he had his opportunity. If one person were to say, well, you've had your shot, you've had your chance, you've had your opportunity, and yet you're here again somewhere else trying to prove the same thing, that might, in a reasonable person's view, suggest that you've lost the first time around and you're having a second chance. So, in my view, any reasonable person sitting on that jury might infer that he lost the first trial, which was precisely what they were not allowed to tell the jury, which is exactly what she was saying in the media interviews. But all of that aside, the second point being that she's essentially saying that Johnny Depp is lying, outright saying that he is lying to the jury, that all of this is lies. Now, I find that quite disparaging and quite disingenuous, because there's evidence to underpin what he's saying. It's not just his evidence, it's evidence of what other people are saying. So I don't think that is quite an appropriate statement either. But then on top of all of that, to say that the jury have wasted their time. Well, Amber Heard's allegations have been heard in full for weeks on end. So, of course, on any account, that shouldn't be wasted time. That should be time well spent investigating and deliberating these issues. But moreover, you might recall that Johnny Depp's reaction throughout this trial has been somewhat calm. He hasn't often appeared to be angry or upset at many points throughout this trial. But this was, in my view, one exception. Take a look again at Johnny Depp's reaction to Elaine's comments during this specific portion of her closing address to the jury. Look at Johnny Depp's reaction here as we watch this clip once again unfold.
Story. He had his opportunities. He had his full opportunities to do all of that. And he came in here and lied to you and said he's here to get his reputation back. It's just one of many lies in this case, but it's a really big one, because here we are, 6 weeks of your time.
Now, that might be very, very subtle to many people, but there's a distinct change in his facial expression. Not only did he turn, he physically turned his entire chair, and his face and his attention, he turned his entire chair towards Elaine to look at her and to listen to what she was saying. But when she says one of many lies in this case, you see his eyebrows come together just very slightly. And to me, this shows a real, genuine emotion from Johnny Depp, that he's really not happy with what she is saying. He's really unhappy that she's saying that there are many lies in this case. And obviously she's referring to Johnny Depp when she says that. So this is one of the few times, I think, that we see an internal emotional reaction going on with Johnny Depp, with an otherwise calm demeanor throughout the trial. And this is only a very mild change in his emotional reaction. And this emotional reaction, in my view, is based on all of the reasons that I've just said, that what she is saying is slightly unprofessional, it's slightly disingenuous, and certainly is disrespectful of the jury's time spent deliberating these issues. Because after all, they've spent the time listening to this evidence for both parties. For her to say that the jury have wasted their time listening to both sides' evidence, if I was sitting on the jury, me being a professional aside, if I was sitting on the jury and someone told me that I'd been wasting my time listening to someone else's evidence, I would feel rather insulted by that. Because I would feel that, well, I've been asked here to do a service, to do jury service. I've been asked to come here and sit and listen to the evidence from both sides. I've done so. I've listened to both sides' evidence. How can you tell me that this is a waste of my time? Because even if I've listened to evidence for one party, evidence for the other party, even if I think one party is a complete load of rubbish, that's not a waste of time. Because obviously then I would find for the other party. But how is it a waste of time to listen to both sides of the evidence? A lawyer should know, Elaine should know, any lawyer would know that for a case to be fought and argued properly, there has to be a proper argument on both sides of the case. And neither side is a waste of time. Whether it's a prosecution and a defense, or plaintiff and defendant, or in the UK, as we say, claimant and defendant, whether you are ultimately the innocent party or the guilty party, whether that's civil or criminal, as a jury member or even as the judge, as we have for civil trials in the UK, how can that be a waste of time to listen to both sides of the evidence? You must listen to both sides of the evidence, otherwise it's not a fair trial. So I found that, and I'd made a note when I was listening to this trial. I'm going through my notes that I was making when listening to this trial the first time around, and going back over those notes to find bits that I think you might find interesting, that as a lawyer, but as I said at the outset of the video, not just as a lawyer, as a client originally, then as a business provider, a service provider, then as the lawyer, the bits that I found interesting, the bits that I found relevant, and the bits that I found from this trial really highlight the struggles and the difficulties that go on. Now, to be fair to Elaine here, this was a high-profile, difficult trial, but she is a very experienced lawyer, has many years of experience, and yet some of these statements many people disagree with. And I thought this was a very interesting point to see Johnny Depp's reaction to these very comments with which I take issue. And so thought I would take the time to talk to you about those in this video and explain those to you, and to elicit your comments and your reactions in the comments box below. So I'd be interested in what you think about Johnny Depp's reaction. I'd be interested in what you think about the comments about lies, and the comments about the jury wasting their time, and the comments in respect of the UK verdict. Obviously, she didn't outright say there was a UK verdict, but in my view, she might as well have done, because by saying that he had his shot beforehand, essentially he's saying that he lost and he's back here trying it again. That's my view of the situation. That's my view of what a reasonable person would infer from this situation. So I'd be interested in your comments in all of the above. And I appreciate there's a fair few things that I'm asking you to comment on and address in the comments box below. But please do that. Please take the time to do that. Please also take the time to like this video and subscribe. I always appreciate your comments, your likes, your subscribes. That really supports this channel, helps me to grow and to spend the time talking about these things to you and sharing my experience and my comments with you. So with that said, I thank you for your time sincerely in spending the time with me to watch this video, to hear my comments, and to share your views. And so with that, I thank you for your time once again, and I'll see you next time.